Hello, how you doing today? My name is Relly, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we're taking a look at Hollow Knight Silksong. Of course we are, based on the title, that I want to take a look at what is taking Hollow Knight Silksong so long to come out, or just what challenges could Team Cherry be facing as to why it is taking longer than a lot of us would hope. I don't know. I'm sure there's all kinds of things going on as to why it's taking a little bit extra time, and it's just getting hard for all of us to be patient at this point, right? There's COVID, there's things beyond their control. Could that be playing a factor? Could be. Who knows if somebody in their family or their friends or whatever got sick? We don't know. Well, we don't know if that could potentially play an issue. But what's nice is that they are such a small team with only 2 developers, now 3. Excuse me. There's a third one in there. I think that makes it a little bit easier for them to stay nimble and be able to continue working, so on and so forth. But there's something right here that caught my eye, and it just came to me the other day. I think that one of the things that they might be having extra difficulty with is dialing in the tool system. And so real quick, I want to just kind of refresh your memory with what we see in the actual trailer. So obviously we had the spike balls that just came out, and if you notice, nothing actually popped up on the UI, and nothing really pops up on the UI for a lot of the tools, which I find really interesting, because then how are you going to know how many of whatever tool that you have? Because we know that you don't have an infinite number of each tools, right? So here we got the Pompillo. She threw out a bomb. Look at that thing, is massive, absolutely massive. But nothing is popping up over here. How do we know how many she has left in her inventory? I imagine it's probably just a UI bug, or bug. You see what I did there? I know. Stop it. But maybe it's more than just a UI bug. So as we continue on, I just want to show you, look, she throws out one of those things, nothing happens. Even here, this must have been a much earlier build as part of the trailer, because she just threw out her pin needle. We know for a fact that does have a UI for it. So take that all with a grain of salt, and then also that one had a mess up on the lifeblood. But if we take that, yeah, see, even that, no UI. But if we take that and we move forward, I was just thinking about how Team Cherry, the last time we had an update was from Ari on December 13th, and I imagine that they are probably developing the areas first, right? Like they're building the kingdom of or the lands. In this case, it's not Hollowness, in Farloom, right? They're building up everything, and once they have an idea of how everything's going to look, after that, I'm sure they're filling it up with enemies. So after they've surpassed their goal of 150 enemies, they got to 163, 64, and 65, more than likely, I would imagine, they're not just pumping out enemies for the last 10 months. That doesn't make much sense to me, because my understanding is, I think I read in an interview, they were able to basically create a new enemy in a couple of hours, if I remember correct. So in a day they could potentially make a couple of them, maybe not boss fights, but like an enemy with some sort of like simple animation or something like that. I can't imagine that this is where they spent all their time. And more than likely, they probably dialed in the different areas by the time they were doing all these enemies. So what else are they doing with this time? So like I said, there's a good chance it's tools. They could have been building out even more areas and thus having the need for more enemies. I imagine there's probably something going on with the lore. But in this video over here, when they were talking about, let's see, this was in February of 2019, so this is even older, but I thought this was kind of interesting.
It's a sort of thing that's fun to come up with stuff for as well. So
they're talking about tools.
Just keep coming up with weirder and weirder tools until we hit crunch time.
Yeah, there are also some bizarre sort of potential sequence breaking possibilities with some of these that we're just discovering as we play.
Yeah.
So I imagine that the bizarre sequence breaking tools is one of those things where they may have had these tools early on that they then have to put them later on in the game, or they're just constantly having to change things around. I don't know. I think that that's something that it might be. I would imagine it would be hard to dial those in. Not just like how much damage does it do and when do you get it and how do you upgrade them and all this stuff. Like, I can't even imagine all the stuff that goes into game development, but I imagine that building out a new tool system would be difficult. And not just the whole sequence breaking thing of it, but also the way that they get fixed at benches. I feel like that could be a really big hindrance to the game and something that I was, I'm a little bit worried about. So if we look at this over here, where it was the Hollow Knight Silksong gameplay demo at the Nintendo Treehouse Live. So this was in June of 2019. Take a look, take a gander.
A little bit, and I will head up here. We're gonna unlock a save bench. Those work similarly to Hollow Knight. I can both save here, and then also it serves as a checkpoint. Looking at the top left, you'll see I've got that straight pin meter.
There's
it's
a straight
totally
pin
depleted right now. So when you do go back to the bench, you have to pay to rebuild your tools.
So she paid 40 geo.
It does function a little differently than the heal and the special attack, which goes from her silk. You actually have to use shards for the tools.
So she just threw out 3 straight pins, right? So there's probably about 4 to get to a third, meaning she can probably throw out about 12 of them before being completely depleted, give or take. Not a big deal. What I'm worried about is that the straight pins are gonna be one of those things, or just a lot of these tools in general. You can only use them when you're near a bench, right? Think of how many times that you were in Hollow Knight and you had to get all the way to the Soul Master, you had to get all the way to the B-Boy, you had to get somewhere that was really far. You're just exploring, you don't know where a bench is. There's a bench in like the next room over, but you're just missing it. Can you imagine exploring all of Farloom and then just not being anywhere near a bench and you used up all of your tools? I think that, I don't know if the tools are so overpowered that they will become a crutch. I don't know if the tools are going to be, or maybe there's just going to be crafting stations located around Farloom, so in that way you can actually fix your tools without necessarily needing a save spot or a bench. I imagine that Team Cherry isn't going to all of a sudden just give us a bunch of benches all throughout Farloom to make it super easy for us. I imagine we're still going to have that sense of exploration and that challenge when it comes to exploration, and that there's not going to be a bench every 2 steps. There's not going to be a bench every like couple of rooms. So maybe that just means that we are going to have to be very selective of when we use our tools. Potentially. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Are you worried about the way the tool system is going to work as it relates to benches and how far you could potentially have to go? Here in this demo, there's clearly like a bench and the boss fight's super close, so in that way you would be able to use all of your tools on the boss here, right? But I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna be. I just think back to Hollow Knight and traveling super far from one bench, going into like Kingdom's Edge or something like that, and then just not having any of the tools. Is it, maybe that's a big hindrance, or maybe it's not. Maybe the tools are something that you don't need as much as I'm thinking that you might need. Maybe the special abilities that require the silk is going to be like the real powerhouse. I don't know. I'm real curious to see how that whole system works together, and I'm curious to know what it is that they work on from 10 months after they have so many characters, and I can only speculate as to what they already have done and what they've been doing with this time. It's just so fascinating to me, and if you're watching this, I'm sure it is for you as well. So anyways, thank you guys so much for stopping by. My name is Relia, and I'll talk to you again more real soon. Be sure to stop by for the live streams every Tuesday at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. Thank you. Bye.